So today we had a ton of great news pertinent to Tesla stock that we absolutely want to go ahead and cover, both from a macroeconomic perspective, but also just some overall good news that we're definitely going to want to highlight. Now, today was a big day from a macroeconomic perspective, especially since we were getting these economic reports from the labor market. We were getting the US employment reports, the US unemployment rate, US hourly wages, and hourly wages year over year, and this was going to be a big driver for the broader markets. Now, oftentimes you hear people talk about either the broader markets or Tesla, and they're only talking about either the technicals, like the lines on the chart, or the fundamentals, how the company is doing, but you have to be aware of everything that's going on, as everything is interconnected. If you hear someone say that a macroeconomic environment doesn't matter, then absolutely you should run away and ignore them, because I want to show you guys something. So minutes after we had the report, I shared within the Push and Profit private group how we had weak job numbers, but this was good for the markets. The latest US non-farm payrolls came in at 175,000, which was lower than the forecasted 240,000 and down from the previous 303,000. And then on top of that, the US unemployment rate is now at 3.9%, which is slightly higher than the forecast in previous of 3.8%. Now, I know this may sound a bit confusing because you would think naturally that, of course, this is bad. But the reality is, right now we're in this unique environment where having the labor market soften down a bit and seeing, unemployment rise up is actually good, because we know that the Federal Reserve is looking at the labor markets and they're looking for more softening before they go ahead and pull the trigger to cut rates, right? So normally in a regular environment, you want people to have jobs, you want everything to look good, but when you have this high inflationary environment where the Federal Reserve is trying to stifle inflation by having the, federal funds rate at a elevated level, well, you want to see the job, data, the labor markets kind of pull back a bit, and that's exactly what we got today. So recently we had the job openings contract, and then today we're seeing the US non-farm payroll numbers come in weak, and so this was great for the markets. And you could see this especially when you take a look at the S&P 500. I mean, for goodness sakes, you could see the minute the report came out, the broader markets jumped up.
This is great!
But you could also see the same result for Tesla stock as well. And so again, this is why I often preach that you have to be aware of the macroeconomic environment. You just can't look at squiggly lines in a chart or see what Elon Musk tweeted or what this person said, or just look at the fundamentals. You have to look at everything collectively and kind of synthesize the data to have a better perspective of what's going on in the overall markets. And this is exactly what we do within the Push and Profit private group, which, by the way, is going to be the second link in the description down below. If you're interested, it's essentially a group where every single day the markets are open. I provide a daily briefing as well as just highlight some trade ideas, so definitely check that out. But overall, we're starting the day on a positive note. Now, we also had some great news in regards to Tesla that we're going to go ahead and cover, but before we do so, just a friendly reminder that if you have not done so already, consider tapping that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any future video, and also make sure to tap that like button if you found any value from today's video. But going into what we saw with Tesla, we had a bit of a W, a bit of good news for Tesla, and that is the fact that the National Highway and Traffic Safety Administration ended an investigation for some Tesla vehicles that they did a few years back. Now, many people may not remember this, but there were some pieces of Teslas a few years ago that had a few issues, and of course, the National Highway Safety or Traffic Safety Administration, it's a long name, right? They ended up doing an investigation, and that was, of course, bad news for Tesla. But what we ended up seeing today is that they announced that the recalls that Tesla did was sufficient to address its concerns and close the investigations. They said that based on available information at this time, Tesla's recalls appear to address the unreasonable risks to monitor safety presented by the premature failure of the components, and pretty much the investigation is over. And so this is absolutely great news for Tesla. Now, it's not major news that's gonna skyrocket Tesla to the top, but of course it's a nice little W when you add into, what we already had for the beginning of the day with the macroeconomic data of the labor markets. But on top of that, I want to go ahead and kind of just talk about Tesla stock from a technical perspective as well. Now, I talk about how you don't want to just look at the charts and the squiggly lines and only look at technical analysis, but I don't want people to get it twisted. It's not that technical analysis is a bad form of analysis. It's just that I like to use it in conjunction with everything else. And so with that said, I want to go ahead and talk about what we're seeing from a technical perspective as well. Now, when we take a look at Tesla stock from a daily time frame, one of the things I mentioned in a previous video is that although it's great news that Tesla stock has recently, catapulted upwards, we once again entered into this area where I highlighted there's a lot of volume relative to price, meaning there's a lot of exchange between the buyers and sellers, and that we're probably going to see some consolidation around this area. And so what we kind of want to see is just a string of good news, like a series of good news that could kind of bring Tesla above to that $200 area, which is why in the channel I recently did on my community post a poll asking, do you guys believe that Tesla's gonna close above 200 for the month of May, right? And so far, as of now, the poll said 70% of you guys believe that it will likely close above 200. But of course, no one has a crystal ball. We're just kind of monitoring what's going on. But with that said, I want you guys to comment in the comment section down below, now that we're already on this video, just letting me know what are your thoughts for Tesla going into the end of May, right? There's a couple of things that take place in May, but also we have to know that after May, we start to go into the summer months of the year, which are kind of one of the slowest months or quarters, simply because a lot of fund managers, especially from Europe, they tend to go on holiday, right? Unfortunately, fortunately, a lot of the fund managers in Europe, they take a lot of holiday time during, the summer. And so we're going to be entering into a slow season, but that doesn't mean that we can't see any big moves. Of course, we have a lot of announcements and economic data coming soon, but I just want you guys to let me know, what are your thoughts on Tesla moving forward? But as of where we currently are, we're in this area where there's a lot of volume relative to price, and there's most likely going to be some consolidation unless we have a series of good news or we have horrific news coming out. Now, right now, we already had the recent update from the fundamentals for Tesla with their earnings and their earnings call. We covered that in previous videos. And so for now, we don't really have any real picture or update of where Tesla is from a fundamental perspective. We won't hear any updates on Tesla fundamentally for quite a while now. And so right now, the big driver is going to be the macroeconomic data as well as catalyst news, and of course, the technicals. And so those are the things that we're going to be putting a big emphasis on for now. But with that said, hopefully you guys found some value in today's video. And before you guys go, make sure to check out this video right over here where I talk about line charts and how to interpret them and why they are useful at different times.